I'm running the Sydney Marathon in a couple of weeks, and here's how I've structured my training program just to give you a bit of insight or inspiration if you're planning your next marathon. First thing I always do is I always work back from the finish line when I'm planning these marathon training plans. So I identify what I want to get out of the marathon. So for me, point one is I want to run an average of 4:15 a kilometer. So, or basically break 3 hours for the marathon. The second point is, okay, what are the factors that are going to impact or influence me getting, 4:15 a K? And for Sydney, the main one I've identified is the hills. Sydney's a very hilly course, which is obviously going to impact my ability to run 4:15 a kilometer. So already my two main points are I need to be able to run the pace, and I also need to be strong enough to endure the hills to sustain the pace itself. So my training is based around those two important factors. And so how I've targeted them is mainly through marathon pace runs regularly, at least once a week for me. So these would be about zone 3 runs where I'd at least do an hour at marathon pace dedicated and continuous, perhaps even faster. And the second one is interjecting hills where I can. So I did this firstly via a hill block where 6 to 8 weeks, I'd have 2 hill sessions a week where I wouldn't do hill sprints, but I'd incorporate hills within a circuit, within like an easy run to try and just get that initial strengthening. And since then, probably the last 6 to 8 weeks and more of a specific block, I've targeted hills through my Sunday long run. I've made my Sunday long run really hilly and challenging. I've gone down to Portsea in Victoria and run some of those hills down there, which are really challenging, just to get my body strengthened and conditioned to running hills in long Sunday runs such as that. And I've also tried to inject more of the race pace within that just to try and adopt a bit more of a race simulation consistently throughout the training program. And what I did on top of that is also drop the quality session in the week to allow these two factors in. So I wouldn't do a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I would just do a Thursday, Sunday and have the rest easy. So Thursday would be the marathon pace exposure run, and the Sunday would be the really challenging hill run, with more contributions of race pace as the race gets closer. So they're the main things I do in the training. Again, focusing on the specific things I've identified that are hopefully going to move the needle and allowing me to break and ultimately reach my goals.